Hello, I'm Scott Stevens, Goldsboro City Manager, back for our monthly update. This happens to be July 2013. I'm amazed every time this comes around. I do want to mention June's been pretty wet for us. Most of us are aware we've had rain many of the days in June, and I was told over 9 inches fell in this area in June, and compared to maybe an average of around 3 to 4 inches. So the ground's saturated. If there's going to be a stormwater problem, you've probably seen it through June, and so please continue to report those to us. And our public works staff was aware of many of them, but is making efforts to improve those where we can. So just want to encourage you to please be aware of that, and we'll hope that July dries us out a little bit. We've had the privilege the last several weeks of having an intern with us, a young man named Kyrie Cyrus. He was an Eastern Wayne graduate. He has completed his first year at North Carolina State University. Go Wolfpack for those that care about that. But Kyrie's been a really nice addition. He just wanted to come in and follow the manager around and just sort of see what we do in municipal government. And I think it's been an interesting experience for him, or at least I hope it has. He's been here a couple weeks and will spend a couple more weeks with us through the month of July. But we've trying to keep him busy in the meantime, but really attending meetings and seeing what we do is the real purpose for him being here. The mayor and I, following our last council meeting, visited D.C. We talked about our Tiger Grant in our last update, and funding for Union Station and the Gateway Transfer Center and streetscape work downtown, a $21 million project if funded. So we followed up with our congressional representatives in D.C. We had the privilege of meeting with all of them, Congressman Butterfield, Senator Kay Hagan, and then Representative Holding, and then met with Senator Burr's staff. And I would tell you we were very appreciative of their time with us, all very supportive of Goldsboro and our efforts, and our priorities really were Seymour Johnson Air Force Base and advocating on their behalf, which is something we've continued to do, as well as making sure they were aware of the Tiger Grant, which they were, and asking for their continued support for that. So hard to tell if those visits bear fruit, but I think they're worth our time and effort in having that ongoing relationship with our representatives and then their staffs that work in D.C. on a regular basis. A lot of recreation information to share this month. Maybe one of the things of interest to those that are golfers, our municipal golf course, our lease for our carts is up, and we have signed a new lease, and we're going from electric carts to gas carts, and so we'll have that change coming in the month of July. Those carts should be arriving about mid-month, and so as those come in, if you have an interest to come out and see what's going on at the golf course, or if you haven't been there in a while, we have a lot of, I think, good improvements there that you ought to come take a look. And for those that are our ongoing members or folks that come out and play with us, we thank you and just wanted to let you know that was coming in the month of July. We talked some time ago about a multi-sports complex here. We're still having those discussions. Right now, partnership with a lot of entities, but the YMCA and the city are probably the lead partnership in that, and then our travel and tourism folks being part of that as well. We visited a community that's really, I guess, flourished on sports tourism, and that happened to be Rock Hill, South Carolina. And Rock Hill, they told me, used to be more of a textile community, 20 or 30 miles outside of Charlotte, and as the textile industry started moving away from the United States, they really were looking for a different direction, and in the mid-'80s really got heavily involved in tourism related to parks and recreation facilities, and they built softball complex, they have built a soccer complex, they have built a number of things that would attract people from around their region to their community. Our interest, of course, was primarily soccer. Our multi-sports complex idea is really being set up to serve a lot of field sports, with soccer being the primary one at this time, but trying to leave it open to football and lacrosse and whatever it may develop as we go forward in time. When we asked the folks in Rock Hill why their soccer complex wasn't a multi-sports complex, their comment was because they couldn't accommodate any more events there. They said it is booked 42 weekends a year for tournament play. It's been open, I think they said, since 2006, so just over 7 years. It had 8 fields. With 8 fields, they can accommodate 60 to 70 teams just at that one facility, and that's not branching out to the other fields in the area. And then of their 8 fields, they have 2 that are synthetic or artificial turf, and 6 that are grass. And they felt like they had a need for both, artificial and real turf fields. The advantage, and we've talked about this in our multi-sports complex of the artificial fields, is you can play year-round, where grass fields, if you play on them year-round, you will tear them up through the October through March timeframe when the grass isn't growing. So and the other value is that if you have a heavy rainfall, the synthetic fields you can play on them as soon as there's no lightning, where the grass fields, if you play on them after a heavy rainfall, in many cases you'll tear them apart, and the grass, there'll be muddy places to play instead of nice grass fields. In talking with the folks in Rock Hill, we talked with them over a 2-day period, looked at a lot of their facilities one day, looked at their sports or their soccer complex the next day. They call it Manchester Meadows. We'll share with you this brochure just so you can see some of the facilities there at Manchester Meadows, but if you'd like to see or learn more about what they've done in Rock Hill and what we're trying to emulate some in terms of tourism, one of the things that was of interest to me was we have a Parks and Recreation department, Parks and Recreation. It took them saying it several times, but they don't have a Parks and Recreation department in Rock Hill, South Carolina. They have a Parks, Recreation, and Tourism department. And they adopted that over 15 years ago, really with that idea that it brought in people to the community. And they say they have been very, very successful in terms of impacting the community, of bringing in hundreds, if not thousands of people on a weekend, whether it's softball, soccer, or other sports that they have going on, and from folks coming from many states away. So it's not their proximity to Charlotte that has made them successful. It's their facilities and encouraging people to come, and once they've come, being very impressed with their facilities. Now, they've built first-class facilities, which costs significant dollars, and we're talking about something very similar, a first-class facility that will be expensive. But what they've said is that they believe and can show that that is paying for itself and the impact in the community. And while their tournament play there on the weekend, their residents that live there, their league play is on these first-class facilities Monday through Thursday, and then tournaments are there Friday through Sunday. So their community has benefited in many ways by having these facilities there. And so we're hopeful to talk more about that. We did have a brief presentation with our council in June, and I think you'll hear more conversation. But if you'd like to know more about the multi-sports complex that's being proposed, please don't hesitate to contact me or our Parks and Rec department or the folks at the YMCA. I think any of us would be happy to give you our impression of what we saw and the value to the community, both with the facility for those of us that live here and to bring other money into our community from around the state. We also talked a bit about W.A. Foster, our recreation center that needs to be replaced, and we've talked about moving it from its current location over on Leslie Street over to Meanawell Park. We are still talking about that. We had a first look at some numbers for what the community has said they would like to have and probably is needed. And in that, the space for the meeting areas and rooms was not meant to be significantly bigger in terms of square footage, and it is not. It's laid out a little differently, or at least proposed to be. We were proposing going from a single gym with really no spectator space to a double gym that would have adequate spectator space, and then your bathroom facilities would be a little larger just because the current code would require more bathroom fixtures to accommodate the amount of people that could be in the building. The numbers we presented to council, and again, these were just preliminary numbers prepared by our consultant helping us through this phase of the project, was showing in the $4 to $5.5 million range, which is significantly above where we started in our conversation with City Council some months ago, talking about the cost to replace W.A. Foster. And the $4 million in, you basically have a metal building, which I think is what we should not do. And at the $5.5 million, you have a very high-end masonry building with a lot more artistic thought in it, which we probably won't do. And then there's a middle-of-the-road kind of a design that's still well above the $4 million number that I think would make sense. It would be a very attractive structure, masonry-type construction, and again, very durable and energy efficient. And I think that's where we will likely end up, is some facility of that nature. I think we'll likely scale that back to a single gymnasium with the idea it could be expanded in the future. That'll drive the cost down some, and we're working on those numbers at this time. But the project needs to get back into a $3 million range for us to be, I think, very comfortable financially in doing that. But it's still a project that we want to move forward, and I hope we'll be under construction in the next 6 to 12 months. Another one of our parks, Stoney Creek Park. There's been a lot of work going on over there and a lot of activities in Stoney Creek Park. We are building a shelter there and then a bathroom on that site as well, along with some signage improvements. The dog park was opened about a little over a year ago. We are going to go ahead and dedicate that park. We've had a number of events there, but we'll be through the significant portions of our PARTEF grant that we had received for that park, these shelters and bathrooms being complete. And then following the dedication, we'll likely have some of the trails that are existing surfaced with asphalt, and that'll close out our PARTEF grant and have that park at least set up for the uses that are occurring there today. And again, a lot of activity, but that dedication is tentatively scheduled for July 25th at 10 o'clock. That's subject to change, so at this point that's tentative. If you check our website or call our offices and make sure if you have an interest in that, But we really encourage you to come join us and sort of hear a little bit about the history, probably a 30-minute ceremony, and then a number of us around to answer questions or talk to folks or listen to ideas. But again, July 25th at 10 o'clock. And we certainly want to say thank you to all the many donors, from folks that dedicated land to time to effort out there, because we've had a lot of groups working in that park over the years. And I would tell you, I think it's one that is as well used as many of our parks in Goldsboro. I want to tell you, we often hear complaints. I also keep a notebook on compliments. We take care of both. I think both are important. Where we can improve our service, we want to do that. Where we have compliments from the community or from those visiting our community, I like to make sure we share those with our employees. This month, we had several concerning our police department. I just want to thank our officers for their service there. One in regards for how they were respectful during a cemetery procession. Folks from out of town were just very impressed by our officers and their demeanor and their respect towards the deceased. So I want to thank our officers for that. They're doing that on a very regular basis. We also had great work in terms of the police department. If I could read this for you. But it was a call from a traveler who broke down, and the officers went beyond the call of duty and helping to assist those travelers through our community and getting their service for their vehicle and getting them back on the road. And again, I want to thank our employees and officers for doing that. And then finally, the other compliment that I'd like to share this month was really based on some comments from an out-of-town person trying to reserve one of our parks for an event here in the community, a family event, trying to gather them into Goldsboro. And their comments after they had looked at us talk about, we had told them we would have a good place for them. And she had called back to talk about our parks being spotless, that they were just very impressed with what they saw here, and connected with some of the folks that were working to maintain our parks, that were volunteers and other groups trying to help keep them clean for those that would have an interest. So remember, for all of us, I remind our employees, we all make an impression. And so please, as you're interacting with people throughout the community, do your part in making a good impression for those visiting our community as well as for those of us that live here, because we all like to run into people that are positive and friendly and willing to help out if we need that. It's a summertime. I would encourage you to continue to have a safe summer. I hope you enjoy the summer time with family. Kids are out of school. They're excited about that. Parents, maybe not so much. But do enjoy the summer. There are a lot of activities around the community. Our parks are busy in terms of camps and providing activities for our kids. There are activities in the theater. There are activities downtown with Center Street Jams and other events. Our Arts Council has ongoing activities, the YMCA, Boys and Girls Club. If you don't know what to do or where to go, our Facebook site is a great place to start. So if you'll visit the city's website or our Parks and Recreation website, or call us, and the numbers will be here as we're speaking so that you can get to us if you need us. As always, if you have compliments or concerns, please share them with us. Our website, there's a citizen request tab. I would encourage you to at least share information there with us. If you have a comment, a question, or a concern, you can leave it there anytime, and that email will come into my office, or feel free to call. We're happy to do it, whichever works better for you. And I would say in closing, we do enjoy all of us here working for the city, providing services to the community. We're here for you, so please call on us if we can be of assistance, and I look forward to talking to you.